could change one thing in education, what would it be? What I'm going to argue today is that we have countless big and brilliant ideas that could completely transform the way we teach, improving the way we develop students, and as a result, our society as a whole. And while a few teachers in a few schools implement a few of these ideas, the vast majority are unused. Their vast potential unrealized. And it's not for a lack of trying. Teachers work tirelessly to do what they can to develop their students. But the harsh reality is they just don't have the time in the day to implement all these great ideas. But AI could be the one technology that could change this. The one technology that can finally give our teachers the time and the resources to transform education. But what even are these big ideas? Well, I like to group them into two categories. The ideas that are about changing what we teach, and the ideas about changing how we teach. When it comes to what we teach, we know that we should transition away from standardized curriculums and standardized tests that teach the same information in the same way to all of our students, and instead prioritize personalized learning, where what students learn is based on their unique strengths, unique weaknesses, and most importantly, their unique curiosities. We know that we should transition away from a focus on mere memorization, where students just learn that information to pass their exam, to instead focus on developing real-world skills, from more practical life skills like financial literacy or time management, or even just managing their physical or mental health, to more interpersonal skills like communication, teamwork, and leadership, and more cognitive skills like problem solving and critical thinking. And then when it comes to how we learn, we know that one of the best ways to learn these real-world skills is through, well, real-world projects. And then when we combine that with collaborative learning, where students work together on these projects, then they can also develop those interpersonal skills as well. And we know that we shouldn't just offer personalized learning, but we should offer personalized one-on-one support and feedback. And this can be through maybe more frequent formative assessment, or it could be through transitioning a teacher's role from being more the sage on the stage, where they're presenting information at the front of the class while maybe spamming through a PowerPoint slide and with barely anyone listening, to instead being the guide on the side, where they're walking through the classroom while their students are doing this work and giving them that one-on-one development. And these are just a few of the huge number of ideas floating around teachers' heads and in more stuffy, boring research papers. And the few number that will continue to come, where as society continues to change and technology continues to innovate, so many more of these big, brilliant ideas will emerge. So why is it that hardly any of these ideas are implemented in our classrooms today, when each of them have the capacity to completely transform the education system? Why don't we see all of these ideas implemented, or at least tested, in every classroom around the world? Well, it's not because they're all new, right? A lot of them say maybe they just were developed, but a lot of these ideas have been here for a long, long time. And it's not because our teachers aren't trying to implement them or wouldn't love to implement them. Because unlike a lot of professions where some people can go into that profession for more financially motivated means, a lot of teachers go into teaching because they want to develop their students. And most teachers will work tirelessly to do that, working long hours into the weekends and into the late hours of the night. And so it's not that either. And I would argue that it's also not because of societal or government resistance, as sure, the education system is very deeply rooted in our culture, and any change will be met with roadblocks and hesitation. But instead, I would argue that the main reason is a lot more practical. And it's the fact that the individuals most responsible for and capable of making this change aka our teachers, just don't have the time in the day. How is a teacher meant to make a new curriculum personalized to every single student in their class when they barely have the time to keep up with the one standardized curriculum for the whole class? How is a teacher meant to provide in-depth one-on-one support to every single student at all times when they barely have time to actually provide that support to their class as a whole? See, teachers are so busy trying to keep the current education system running that it's so hard for them to actually find the time to improve it. We've effectively benched the best player on our team. But what if AI could change that? What if AI could give these teachers the time and the resources they finally need to make those changes? See, what I would say is when it comes to using AI, we shouldn't start by trying to add things onto educators' plates. We shouldn't expect them to spend more time learning about AI or spend more time setting up tools or things for their students, as all of these are fantastic ideas and we should implement eventually, but we can't start with them because teachers' plates are already full. We just established that they don't have the time to add anything else on. Instead, we should start by streamlining the current tasks that they're doing, by streamlining the tasks that they already have to do for their students, using AI to streamline the way, say, they make lesson plans or resources for their students, using AI to streamline the endless administration that they have to do, maybe drafting up emails for them. And what I'm researching right now is to try to streamline the marking and feedback process by guiding that process and using AI as a tool, not an automation, to save the teacher that valuable time. And then once they have that time, they can now start using it to learn about AI in education, to follow the leading experts in the field, and to actually talk and collaborate with their peers about AI in education. And then with that time and that newfound knowledge, they can start to amplify the way they teach. Maybe they can start to make more formative assessment for their students, more engaging lesson plans. Maybe they finally have the time to be the guide on the side. They finally have enough resources to just walk through the class while the students go through their individual work and provide that one-on-one support to their students. And one of the biggest applications of AI is we could potentially finally provide that constant one-on-one support. Up until this point, it's been impossible to give every student, say, a full-time tutor. But with AI, it just might be. And this AI tutor can not just provide that more academic support, but it could go even further and provide that more personal support and even that more career support as well, helping them go through and deal with the challenges that they have in their life and actively think about what career they want to go into. And so we can not only use AI to first streamline the tasks we do and then amplify those tasks, but what excites me most is using it to help us redefine exactly the way we teach. Because we could even use AI to help us redefine the way we deliver information in education. Maybe with that time, teachers can catch up with the research around virtual reality or augmented reality and start running simulations in their classroom rather than getting students to read textbooks or look at PowerPoint slides. Imagine if a student was able to learn about World War II not by reading a passage in a textbook, but by actually experiencing the trenches. Imagine if they could actually experience the real life. And initially, these experiences will likely be few and far between. Because, look, the technology is not cheap, and it's not exactly simple to set up a simulation. But as it advances and as it becomes more accessible to students, and maybe everyone has their own VR headset or like AR glasses, and then as AI improves, making it easier to make these simulations and making these simulations more hyper-realistic, then this has become a more frequent endeavor in education, and we can completely transform the way we communicate in our classroom. And not only could we redefine how we communicate information, but we could also redefine how we assess students' knowledge of that education. Instead of, say, more boring, say, quizzes or like report writing, maybe we can transition to assessing students based on dialogue, where they can talk to a famous expert on the matter. Imagine learning special relativity and then just talking about it with Albert Einstein, or learning about ancient Rome and then talking about it with Julius Caesar. And going further, we could even get AI to come up with real-world problems to solve for those students. Maybe for chemistry, instead of doing a quiz, they can actually now try and solve a murder mystery using their chemical knowledge. Or maybe AI could even make entire games for that student. Maybe while they're learning projectile motion, instead of doing, once again, another quiz, they can now actually have an entire game where, say, they have to use their knowledge in the realm of archery. And then we could combine this with the ideas of virtual reality and then make this a fully realistic simulation throughout, making that assessment so much more engaging and impactful. And these are only a few of the huge number of ideas that we already have and will continue having as this technology evolves. And the thing is, each and every one of these ideas could transform education. But before I finish up my talk, I also wanted to talk about some of the risks of AI. Because like any technology, it's a double-edged sword, where it could have a huge positive impact on our education system. But if used incorrectly, it could completely destroy it. We need to be careful not to use AI to replace teachers, because we need human connection to develop our students. Human connection is so vital for their development, and our society is already becoming increasingly disconnected. At any point, AI should only amplify that human connection, helping teachers spend more time with their students or set up more collaborative learning. It's also vital that we keep the teacher in the loop throughout the entire process, making sure that they're not only validating the AI's response and correcting it, but getting the valuable information they need to develop their students. As if we take away this information, we sever the connection between the student and the teacher, we're effectively putting a blindfold on the most valuable player in our team. And these are two of a large number of risks which we'll have to consider. Things like student misuse of the technology or data privacy, all things which are so important to mitigate. But I believe that every single one of these can be mitigated given enough time and implementing the right guidelines, and so that we can use the technology for its benefits, but mitigate the risks. And the great thing is, we might actually have this time if we can use AI to give it. And so this brings me to the most important part of my speech, where I tell everyone what they need to do to make this a reality. For the teachers here, it's vital that you start looking into using AI to streamline your tasks and save you that time. And then once you have that time, you can start learning about AI and then amplifying and redefining how you teach, maybe implementing things like AI tutors into your classroom. And throughout the entire process, every step along the way, consider those risks. Make sure you keep them in mind and you're mitigating them throughout the process. Anything that you implement should never negatively impact your students. And for the ones here who are still skeptical, that's great. We need you in this process to ensure that we implement this technology ethically and responsibly. But the key thing is, you shouldn't ban or ignore this technology, because AI will be part of education no matter what you do. And so we need you to be involved to make sure that it's implemented responsibly. And finally, for the students in the room, don't wait for your teachers to implement these ideas. Take the initiative and use this technology to make your learning more effective. Start learning through curiosity, using AI as a tutor to help you not in just your academics, but also your personal life and your career development. And don't use AI to do the work for you, because at the end of the day, the whole point of education is for you and your future. And if you compromise the way you learn so you can spend more time, say, scrolling through TikTok, the only person who's going to be negatively impacted is yourself. So it's up to all of us, the teachers, the students, and the skeptics, to use this tool responsibly and to finally give the educators the time and the resources they need to transform education. Thank you.